Hi, Erin from Next Generation Wellness. Popping into the Next Generation Wellness Kin with a little snippet of information, self-inquiry and action to take away this week to show up better at home, at work and in the community. Now this topic today came about through some coaching clients that I've had over the last few months and this reoccurring guilt that is showing up for these clients. Now these in particular are women, but this is the same for men, okay? What they are doing is they are in this state where their financial aspect, their work, their business, all of those things are ticking along really, really well. But alongside of that, when they're stretching in that area and they're taking their eye off the ball in perhaps family, they're having this guilt around not spending enough time or not having enough time to spend with their children. Now, the risk of this is that, there needs to be comparison in that situation, which is a stress trigger. So we must be, in order to have that guilt, be comparing to other mothers who perhaps are at home or are enjoying making things with their children. And so there's comparison first. The second stress trigger in that situation is that there is guilt, and we know that any negative emotion at all will start to create that stress response in the body and a whole cascade of biochemical and physical and behavioral and mental and emotional challenges if we don't do something about it. So in this particular case, if we are the parent who is, let's call them ambitious and achievement addicted, then it is very common for those parents not to find the joy in playing with their children. Now, if you are the parent that enjoys playing with your children, then you might look at that and not understand that. But we have different personality types. And so if you are not, and you are more driven to achieve for whatever reason sits behind that, then what I ask you to do is shift your focus. Do not try and play the games and not find the enjoyment in it. Instead, look at your strengths and what you're doing to excel in the business that you have, the workplace that you have, the community, or whatever it is where you're excelling, and teach your children that. So what we do, I wasn't the player, to be honest. I did it, I struggled with it. But what we do now once a week is family dinner nights. And that family dinner nights is based on some of the work that I do with my clients. So what our children have done in the past, which we have done, is looked at a life fulfillment grid, which sits on my website as a free resource if you would like to get that. Private message me if you can't find that. But what happens in that life grid is we look at all the areas of life that are really important to us, because what I know is sometimes for these women in particular, there might be 8 areas of their life that are exceptional. But we always look at the area that's not, because we're striving, we're ambitious, so we look at that. But if we focus all our attention on that 10% that's not right and forget about the 90% that's great, we're at risk of really living in a stress response and also not enjoying the parts of our life that are great. We sometimes miss the bits that are good too, okay? So we can look through a week and think an area of life didn't actually turn out that well this week, or it wasn't experienced well this week. But if we actually sit down and pay attention to how it went, we can find some things in that area that were actually really positive. So what we did initially was fill out our life grid, the 9 most important areas of our life, what that looked like, what the vision was around that, what it felt like, how we needed to be being, what we needed to be doing, what we needed to be learning and discovering about ourselves to be able to get that vision of that life grid and life fulfillment across 9 areas of life. And then what we do each week is we get the kids, these have been well watered, and we get them to score in there. They've got 6 areas, we have 9. And they score out of 10 how they've done in that life grid. And so if we find that there's an area that is low, then we ask them why. And sometimes we can look at that and say, hey, do you remember maybe it doesn't feel fun today, but can you remember over the last 7 days all the fun things you did do? What it allows them to do is actually look at life and understand that there has been some goodness in it we've just forgotten. We can do the same thing ourselves as adults. Then what we do is look at 3 actions that they choose in order to raise some of those areas that were quite low. So it's all about behavior that they're in control of. And then we do an element of contribution, and we also look at a challenge to stretch them a little bit out of their comfort zone. So we do that. They enjoy that. I enjoy that. We all do it as a family, and we understand what's important to each other and where we're all stretching and what we're all striving for. That is what we do, because that is what brings me joy. It is my work, it is what I love, it is my strength. So we do that. So what I'm suggesting to you is, rather than comparing how other people do parenting and spending time with their children, what's stopping you from teaching your strengths to your children and using that as a real asset to create a really great ritual in your home that brings you together, that opens communication channels and reduces that comparative stress around parenting? I would love to hear what you come up with in terms of your strengths and what you can do in your family. If you have any questions, please private message me, send me an email, and until next time, take care and be well.